Okay, here we go. We are live and I'm just posting to stream on Facebook now. Let's see what happens. Ooh, unable to locate. That's interesting. All right, well, we can try it one more time and see what happens. Totally okay if it doesn't work. Let's see. There it is. All right, go live. We're going live. And this meeting is being live streamed. And not only that, we are officially, okay, here we go. Thriving Live, Tuesdays at 2. And it's Tuesday, August 30th. And guess what? Today is the 24th episode. Yeah, the 24th episode. Can you believe it? I can't really believe it. And if you'd like to come on live with me, you can always register, even actually right now while we are live. You can go to bit.ly/thriving live. So it's bit.ly/thriving live, all one word. And that will get you right into the Zoom call. So we could be face to face. I could see your lovely face and we could communicate directly, which is how I prefer things to be. I like to have actual humans on the show whenever possible. And then we can sort of follow the flow of the conversation based on what comes out in a natural conversation. And otherwise, I will talk for a little while and sort of go fly by the seat of my pants, which is what I often do, for better or worse. Sometimes it's great, and sometimes it's a little like, that could have been better. Hopefully it'll be like, oh, that was so good. I hope whoever's listening today receives something that they needed to hear. And yeah, I hope that it is beneficial to all parties. So, whew, okay, so like I said, today is the 24th episode of Thriving Live. And as usual, I do not have anything in particular planned for you to talk about. There are a lot of things going on in the studio, and often that has me feeling a little bit overwhelmed and like I don't even know what to talk about because there's so many things. And yet people tell me they want to know. They want to know what's going on in the studio and they want to hear about all the things. And so I guess I'm projecting my fear of overwhelming others, of being overwhelmed by all the things, my own experience of being overwhelmed by all the things that are going on in the studio and in my world, that then I have a fear of overwhelming others with all those things as well. You see what I mean? So that's the tricky little, conflict I have going on pretty much every time I come on the show or pretty much every time I speak with anybody about what's going on in the studio. So what can I say? Well, before I begin, I have lit my candle. You see, I have a candle lit, and I'm actually going to also burn a little Sempala. Need a little more. Yes, and then if you are a regular viewer, you know the drill. I will do a pleasure first, a sort of pleasure practice to help me get grounded, to ground anyone that's watching, whether live or later on. Also know that the chat is open on Facebook if you decide you want to say something or ask a question. That's open and it's right here next to my screen, so I should be able to see it. Okay, so for pleasure first today, I'm actually going to go with a very minimal kind of movement practice. Okay, so not quite the usual thing. That I do, but I'm really feeling this one, so I'm going to go ahead with this one. So if you imagine that you're just you can do this sitting if you want to, but I like to do it standing. So imagine you have this energy or a pole or whatever you want, a center line, center channel through your whole body. And you know how when we're dancing, like we'll shift out our hips and we might do pelvic thrusts and stuff like that. And so our hips are really quite used to doing all this kind of action. What's not so familiar in our bodies is moving the rib cage, right? And moving the upper chest area, isolating those as movements. And if you do this tiny rotation thing with me from the center, and we'll be focusing on the torso for the moment, you'll notice that muscles that you might not typically be acquainted with are engaged, and that's kind of fun. And then you might also experience sort of the metaphor of noticing the minuscule and excuse me, something just got into my throat, and then expanding beyond the minuscule and then coming back in. So excuse me, I try to clear out whatever's stuck in my throat. Okay, so sitting or standing, imagine just pressing out your chest and sort of arching your back, right? And then concavely stretching your back out. So it's almost like you're doing a cow and a cat if you were on the ground, right? The cat and cow stretch. And then you can also move left and right, or for me, this is my right, and that's my left, right? Keeping your hips where they are and just moving to the left or to the right, to the left, the center, right, left, center. So out front, to the left, to the back, to the side, to the front, to the left, to the back, to the side, right? So these are sort of, I'm sort of pushing myself to move it out as far as I can. So again, I'll go the other way, out in front, to the side, back, to the side, front, side, back, side, front. So now I'm just going to try to smooth it out a little. Again, trying not to let my hips move out like they might if I were dancing. Just trying to isolate this upper area. I notice where it's a little bit sticky in that movement. And so then this area, so again, not moving the hips or the pelvis, we're keeping those square and solid. And I'm going to do very micro movements. I'm not going to try to like push it way out like I was doing with my chest. So in this case, imagine that, you know, the skinny line is going through and you're just very slowly wrapping, rotating around that center line, okay? So it's going to be small. You might not even see it. And again, I want to hold my hips and pelvic floor all still and in place, right? So I'm just using those torso muscles from here to here, here to here, across here. I'm going in the opposite direction. You could imagine rotating around a clock if you wanted to, if that's more helpful, like as though you're looking like you had a clock on the floor and your belly button or your solar plexus is the, or your sternum is the minute hand, or however you want to do it. If you have your clock on the floor and you're just rotating it, it doesn't really work because actually you'd have to rotate your whole body. So, but instead we're rotating. Imagine that minute hand is deep inside, we can't see it, and it's just moving off that post. So just slowly guide it around. For some people, it's easier to do like just the quarters, 12 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 3 o'clock, if I'm going backwards, or 12 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 9 o'clock. Anyway, something to play with. It looks like nothing, but it feels like something, especially the more you get into it. And yeah, and remarkably, it kind of like wakes up these other muscles that don't usually get to be played with. And then, you know, you might want to stretch and do other things with that. So that's my pleasure practice. Is that my pleasure practice today? Is that all we're going to do? Let me think. Yeah, I am thinking about deep breathing and running another process through that practice. Yeah, we could do that. Okay, so I'm just going to count really slowly and move. I'll just rotate in a very subtle way my torso sort of around that central post or whatever it is. Okay, so you can join me if you want. So I'm going to start with 12. So I'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. I'm back at 12. How are you feeling? Feeling good? I'm feeling good. Okay, and now I'm just going to go the other way, and that will be it for now. Okay, so I'm going to go starting up at the top, which I consider forward, and then I'm going to go this way. And I'll just do reverse clock. 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, center, 12 o'clock. And then shake it out. Do whatever you need to do to move, stretch, allow those muscles to stretch a little bit that just got a little use, right? So I've been thinking about what to do with this show. And as I was saying at the top of the show, that there's often so many things that I'm working on at any one time that I often feel a little bit overwhelmed by them, and then I project that everyone else might be overwhelmed by them as well. So I would really be curious to know, like, what would you desire? You know, like, would you like more information on the things that are happening in the studio, like new prints that are coming, or new projects I'm working on, or ideas I'm thinking about creating and manifesting? So all things art related, project related in the studio. Or would you like me to continue offering sort of these practices for finding pleasure, for finding things to celebrate in our lives and ways to celebrate, and to have more access to more freedom, more choice, more getting better at feeling our feelings, that kind of thing. Because I'm happy to provide any and all of those things. So I was sort of thinking about turning it into the place where we talk about like art, love, and climate action, right? So the like three things that I'm really very involved with, right? So there's a lot of climate activist stuff I'm doing, some art projects that are related to that I hope will generate a great deal of climate action by any and all people who come in contact with it, and that we can see a difference, that we can make a difference, and that people don't continue to be frozen in fear around the climate crisis. Because yes, it's terrifying, and yes, there's a lot of destruction, and it is an emergency, and we all need to not bury our heads in the sand, and we have some things that we can do to help. So why not help instead of freak out and, you know, like put our heads in the sand? So, and then so the important thing is, how do we manage our systems? How do we manage our own personal well-being, while also trying to help the planet and deal with the climate crisis, right? And so every little thing helps, you know, every practice that can bring us back into our bodies and regulate our systems and make us feel calm, that is a huge thing. And we can get so much more done and think way more clearly when we are more calm and settled, than when we're in a crisis mode and we are running around like chickens with our heads cut off, right? Because it's terrifying. So how do we balance those two things? How do we prepare ourselves or take care of ourselves, and in so doing prepare ourselves for action, for clear thinking, for creative thinking, for innovation, for engagement, for creativity, for all the different ways that we can help humanity, help the planet, help create the change that's needed. And as you know, we're running out of time, right? So the climate crisis is getting more and more severe, and so we can't really continue putting off the actions. And anyway, that's the way I feel about it. And So I invite you to, join me, talk with others, be with others who can help you find the power within you, because I know you have it, power within you to make the change that you want to see in the world. And we don't have to do it alone. We don't have to do it as individuals. There are loads of groups of people that are moving in this direction. And we have to be really, really careful about not spending a lot of time with the naysayers and the people that are just totally negative and toxic. And it's like, it's too late, it's too late, it's too late. Because they're not going to help you move forward in any way. It just help you feel hopeless and helpless and like there's nothing you can do. And there's a ton of stuff to do, and we have to actually do it. And it's, we'll just do what we can do. And my philosophy is I'd rather die trying than spending any time with people who are negative or toxic or just, saying it's hopeless, right? It's like, I don't need anyone else's hopelessness to influence what I'm doing or to impact my thoughts. I love learning from people who are knowledgeable, experts, climate scientists, expedition leaders, people who really are paying attention to the nuances, to the depths, to the reports, to alternative ways of thinking about things and looking at all of it and not just going towards the, headlines that are like always doom and gloom. And I don't know about you, but it leaves me feeling pretty like, ugh, like there's nothing left there's no energy, right? So I think that's the most critical thing, is making sure that you don't spend time with people who are snarky or negative or pessimistic or fatalistic, because it just doesn't help. Just doesn't help. There's no, I'm not going to be more poetic about it. It's just the way it is for me anyway. So there's that. What else? What was I saying? So yeah, so there are projects I'm working on. There are projects lots of other people are working on that are showing great potential, great promise, great results in changing the situation around pollution, emissions, extraction, and helping to lower the temperature of the climate, to slow down the climate clock, and then also to help solve problems that we are faced with on the planet. So there's that. And then, as you know, I'm also a coach. So I help people with phobias, with relationship things, with the things that are going on in their lives. I'm not a therapist, but a lot of the work I do and that I'm trained to do is therapeutic. So yeah, like I'm not a licensed social worker, although I do have a lot of experience working with people who have endured sexual assault, either as an adult or teenager or as children. People of all genders I've worked with and very experienced with. And I've supported people like witnesses and relatives to victims in the courtroom, just in terms of giving them moral support and helping them process the really intense emotions that come up in those situations. So I'm here for that. And also helping people achieve their goals, either creative goals or professional goals or relationship goals or like personal expression, personal development, all of that kind of thing. I love doing that. And so, yeah, I have some coaching clients. I have one spot that's coming up pretty soon. I would say in I think in October, actually. So if you're interested in that, be in touch with me because there might be a spot for you. And the other thing, love, right? Love, art, and climate action. So love is, yeah, it's pretty awesome, right? So have a lot of training around relationship stuff, around expression, around sexuality, around gender, around gender nonconforming, and different sexual orientations. So if you need any help with that, you can always reach out to me on that. Or if you have a particular thing you'd like to hear about, I would love for you to put it in the comments, or, you know, send me an email or something like that. You can always reach me at gabriellesenza@gmail.com. You can find me on Instagram at Gabrielle Senza Studio. Of course, my website, gabriellesenza.com. And yeah, there are all kinds of ways, you know, in the comments section here, or on Facebook, you can always find me. So, yeah, so I was also thinking about, like, what else could this show be? Initially, I thought it would be like laser coaching, you know, like helping people kind of neutralize big charged things that were really troubling them, and working through some processes that way, which I'm really happy to do. And then I found that there are other things that were also of interest. So that's what I've been playing with. Totally open to your input. I would love to hear it. And let's see. Oh yeah. Another thing that's coming up in the studio, I was just looking at my notes over here, is I have some work going into a couple of exhibitions, so you can check that out on my social media and on my website, probably. Hopefully I'll get that up. And yeah, there's a lot of stuff that's in development in terms of like my online presence. So I've been working on the artwork archive and putting all kinds of work up from the past, like even some of my very first paintings that I sold from OK House in New York and from David Klein in Michigan. So that's pretty exciting. Those will be up and on view online at a certain point. Not sure when exactly, but keep your eye out there. And yeah, that's pretty much the update for today. And yeah, I did that practice with you, the sort of spiral practice. And yeah, so that might be helpful for you. I think that would be fun to play with. Also brought over a couple of books that I thought I'd show you, just in case. So I don't know if you've seen this one. The Boy, the Mole, the Fox, and the Horse by Charlie Mackay, I think it is, or Macquarie. It's so delightful. It has so many nice thoughts, you know, like such beautiful things. So, for example, this one, when the big things feel out of control, focus on what you love right under your nose, right? So this goes back to feeling overwhelmed. And how beautiful. You know, it's like some days I can just open this up and I'll always find something that will sort of bring me back to, oh yeah, that's what I should be thinking about right now, instead of, you know, moving into a space of overwhelm. Here's another one. Is it the moon? Asked the boy. It is a teacup stain, said the mole. And where there's tea, there's cake. So be curious. One never knows. So here's another one. Oh, this is so sweet. Also, apropos of what we're talking about today. Sometimes, said the horse. Sometimes what? Asked the boy. Sometimes just getting up and carrying on is brave and magnificent. Right? Sometimes just getting up and carrying on is brave and magnificent. And then here's this sweet one. How do they look together, so together and perfect? Asked the boy. There's a lot of frantic paddling, going on beneath, said the horse. So you see, they're just swimming along, looking gorgeous and put together and calm and perfect. But there's a lot of paddling going on underneath. So I find that's true about so many things. So, and then this one, we'll go with this one, and then I'll close with that. The greatest illusion, said the mole, is that life should be perfect. And just then, the author's dog walked across the drawing while it was being made. So anyway, so there are some fun things. It's very sweet. Very, very sweet. And this book I thought was pretty awesome. Recipes for Self-Love, because a lot of us can use more self-love in our lives. Highly recommend it. So this one's called How to Feel Good in a Patriarchal World by Allison Rachel. I like it because it shows so much diversity, and I really appreciate that. So here's some. Protect your energy. Don't be afraid to let go of toxic people, like I mentioned earlier. Living in a capitalist world can lead to anxiety and depression. Maybe you've noticed that. Don't apologize for who you are. You're awesome. And sometimes you just need to hide from the world, and that's totally okay. And it's okay to not be okay. I like we have our hair in a similar way. That's funny. You don't have to be okay all the time. You're allowed to be upset, to be a mess, and to be totally not okay. Life is messy and unpredictable. It throws you curveballs that you're not always going to know how to handle. There's no shame in not being okay. And you don't always have to be happy. There's so much good stuff in here. So I really appreciate that. So check it out if you're interested. It's a good book, great artist. So books are tools for me anyway. I really love them. I love learning either by physical books or audio books or videos on YouTube and TED Talks and all that kind of thing. So surround yourself with things that feed you, nourish you, and give you life and love. All right, so that's it for today. We won't have a Q&A because there are no live visitors that I can chat with at the moment. And if there were, we would talk about what the wins, insights, and learnings were from today. And that I always find very fascinating. So, my loves, I will be back with you probably next Tuesday, most likely. And in the meantime, please send me messages. Give me some feedback on either YouTube or on the Facebook page. Okay, because I'd love to know what you're thinking, what you'd like to see, and what is resonating, what you like, what you don't like, etc., etc. I'm here for it, and I'm here for you. Okay, be in touch. I love you so much, and have an awesome rest of your day.